Morning all, just in the greenhouse looking at some of the pot tubers. I've got these massive field tubers, odd ones I didn't use. I'm just going to divide them up into effectively clumps or chicken legs to get them going, because I found doing that sort of at this stage of the game seems to help them get away or wake up a bit quicker. It just gives me a bit of backup stock. I'm also using seed trays as I normally do, because they're a bit more manipulative, but obviously that fills a seed tray, you don't get many in there. So it's a bit shriveled, there's a couple of damaged bits on there, and I'm just going to try and get something that's good out of it. The method of growing them from under the ground gives you all these multiple stems, certainly later in the season when they start producing them. And almost the tuber has got three main stems or crowns that's formed. So the only way really is just to get amongst it and find which bits might separate from the others first. I'm just going to literally try and get in there with a knife. Seems a bit wasteful in a sense, but you've got to just get it into workable, like that, workable sections. There's one section, I'm probably in here, so it's quite a clump when I dug it up. In there, if you can get in there and separate it, you've got half a chance. There we go. And we're just dividing through that main stem, which you can see is that bit. So wiggle them out, they tend to come apart in the end. And it all looks a bit destructive and damaging. That bit just fell off. And actually, you can see it's come off where it joins. And I'll probably just get in there and just tidy it up. Anything that's looks a bit damaged comes off. And as you can see, you've got a nice knuckle. It's quite likely they might get a knife from there. Use the secateurs and just trim the hair bits off. Don't miss about too much. That's one. Put that on the side there, and then just look in there where the likely crowns are. Remove all the bits you don't want, which is a stem. There's another piece. It's actually got a bit on there. I'll tidy that up in a minute. Let's just try and see where they naturally separate. I'm sure some of your American friends will be looking at me butchering this thinking, what's he doing? But don't need that many, I just need some. There's a natural break in there, it seems, if I can get the tears in. There we go. I'm just separating it out. It doesn't have to be just one tuber on, you can go for a cluster. That's going to come out. Take some of that off. That'll do, mate. I'll have that little bit off there. I'm sure there's an eye or two in that little group. Again, looking at this piece, really take that bit off. Trim that away. Sometimes you do this and then you realise that you wasted your time because the bit you've got left hasn't got anything left on it, but that has. And this is Cheryl Peach that we're doing, if I haven't mentioned that. That's another old stem. Cut him off, that's a bit wispy. Probably a pair of scissors might be better than the secateurs. That's not going to give us much there, so we'll take him off. a lot of value. And again, it's not a chicken leg, but it is a small crown of tuber that we've got rid of the problem area being the stem. So we'll look at some of these bits that fall off. There's another one there. Just dropping off. Not the biggest of tubers, but a tuber nonetheless. And you'd be surprised sometimes how well these bits go. There's another one. It's growing off the side. Again, that's the bit where it joined. Trim him off. Fire a bit of stem at the camera. Another one. And it looks like a reasonable one in there. Trying to get in there. So there's a bit of a massacre, but that's the whole point for me. And again, there's bits there. Probably take that bit off. And that bit. It's really on this crown round here where some of the eyes often come. Have a bit in there. And get in. I'm just doing this now. I mean, you can store the tubers like this, but they tend to, I think, shrivel a bit quicker. But if you can do it at the stage you want them to wake up, it seems to help. If I can get everything I can from the pot tubers, that's great. Take up a lot less space on the bench. Just chopping that bit of stem out. But you can't always, they don't always want to behave themselves, so we're just going to get in there again. Take that bit out. You can see we've got nice green, healthy stem or tuber there, which shouldn't. Right, you can dip them all in sulphur if you want, but I think if you're going to just put them onto some warmth, then there's really not much need. Let's have a little group. There's like another one. Again, a bit of stem, and it's just purely where I've been forcing them out the ground. And if you chop the tops off, it forms these multiple small stems below. I don't think it's gold or anything else. I'll just have a little look through the bits, and there might be a little bit in there, but I'm not really that worried, so we'll just lose that. And then that gives us tubers, which is quite a few from one field tuber. Swap those around so you can see it. Hopefully, let me just adjust my legs. Let's see. So then we're just going to get these tubers. Just filled a seed tray with some compost, and really want to cram them in. Not everyone will shoot. Most will, I hope. But just want to line them up, keeping this part, which you can't see me doing it, but this part out of the compost, which is the bit that was connected to the stem, leaving the eyes proud, and just almost lining them up like soldiers in there. There is a top, there's a bottom, but I think the eyes or the shoots sort themselves out. Push them in, just nestle a bit of compost. So we've got the neck of that leg sticking out. These are some of the more cluster groups, and you can pretty much layer them on top of each other. So knit one per one on that. Cover it over. That's quite a big chunk. I'm sort of tempted to split it in half, but I think I'll just nestle him in there. That's another clumpy bit. Pressing that in, and one more finger, tuck him under. It's quite doesn't look pretty, but it does do the job. So they're now nestled in that tray, and that's all come from the one tuber. Got a couple of clumps, a few fingers. That'll be watered in and put onto the soil warming table or the heat mat. This is one, get it, that I did probably about 3 weeks ago, and you can see all these clumps, and that piece has got 2 eyes already on there. This is another chunk, there's 2 eyes coming on there, bit on there. Pretty much every single piece that chunk or piece I've put in there has started, and this is Hamari Gold, and there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuttings to take off of there, and they only went on, I only split the tuber probably, I'd say, about 3 weeks ago, where the pot tubers were just being that bit slower. I'll show you those. These are pot tubers. These are Hamari Gold, and again there are some eyes that come in. I don't think that one is yet, but it looks like it might, and that one hasn't. But these 2 tubers, they've been on warmth on about 18 degrees since at the end of November, where those ones have been done 3 weeks. So there does seem to be an advantage in doing that, and we'll see if it works on some of these other varieties. So we'll come back on that in a few weeks' time. But don't be afraid; it doesn't hurt if you chop them up a bit. And I think personally that the shock of doing it, it exposes more eyes than we would by putting the whole tuber in, and it gets more in the space. I'll probably get another tuber in that tray, either of a different variety or another one of the same if I had it. But it's a way to try it, splitting them up, putting them in. It's not quite the American way or Canadian way of storing them as chicken legs, but it ain't a bad way of getting them going. I'll show you some cuttings in a bit.